White noise? What do you mean white noise? I'm just playing. Hey, Siobhan, Candace, Anthony, Miranda, Anthony Shagley. How's everybody? I mean, I'm just. I didn't turn I didn't turn Tony up. Hold on. I do have permission in case anybody from YouTube, which I'm broadcasting on YouTube tonight too. Intro music. That was it. I just had it turned down. Shaggy said my sound is good. Farah said hello, hello. Man, I haven't seen you in a while. What's the shit? Where you been? What's the deal? I know how it is. I know how y'all are. Um, Guys, I'm broadcasting here and on my is it Mike Forney, Candace? There we go. Weird sound is gone. Candace, I was just playing Tony Justice. Now see, now it wants to buffer. I don't get it. Stephen Dunn. I don't understand why it's buffering. Hold on a minute. I'm looking. I'm trying to figure out why in the hell it's buffering. Well, I don't know what's going on. My video's acting weird. Hold on. I'm gonna fix all this. You got a delay on this thing. I don't know if it's still working or not. Doing fine on your end. Well, I'm not seeing anything but buffering here. I don't get it. I don't understand how that could be. You can hear me loud and clear. I can't see any video. Can you guys see any video? I can't see anything. Mine's just going in circles, going round and round and round in circles. You can see the video. Well, that's weird as shit. Well, I can't. Let me try one. Let me try a different camera. Hold on a minute. I can see it some places, just not others. Let's see. Do you have Spectrum Internet? No, I have Verizon Internet. Facebook users, we see you. We see you. All's working well. I see you and hear you. Okay. Everybody got video and audio. Okay, we're just going to go on with it. Facebook is acting weird. You know, I can't see anything on Facebook. But now, I will tell you, you don't need to see yourself. That's true. That's probably a blessing. You're probably right about that. I'm also on Spectrum and Verizon. Same. Well, I didn't know that. Okay. I'm broadcasting on my YouTube channel also. It's Frank G Trucks, same as my name on YouTube. So if it's any clearer there, need the Elon Musk internet. Okay, Kyle, stop it, Kyle. Anyway, I'm gonna flip back over here and so I can see you guys while we're doing this. And the reason I'm doing this tonight, the reason I started doing this tonight, Shaggy and I talk about this pretty much every day. I get a lot of calls, and Shaggy gets a lot of calls about government freight. Hold on, let me turn the light on. That'll help. There, had to light up my cowboy hat. I can't see shit. Anyway, I get a lot of calls constantly about government freight, and I became a. You don't need to see yourself. Okay, good. Looking at your right side, I got you off. I got you off your Facebook. Okay, but you can go to YouTube also. I don't know if that's any better or any worse, but YouTube seems to work better. I don't know why. I started doing government freight, and I've been a prime contractor. I actually started doing the first of it when I first started in uh, in 1987. And here's what we're going to do tonight, because there's a lot of people on here, and I want to talk to everybody while we're doing it. But keep questions. If you got questions, let's keep them. And I'll stay as long as you guys want to. And we'll talk about anything you want to talk about. So let's just keep the questions, as down to a roar, down to a minimum. And let me try to get through this with you guys, because hopefully, I'll answer a lot of your questions, while we're at it. And then maybe that'll clear up some stuff for you guys. But so let's at a minimum for right now, and just go through the my little thing here, and see how far we get. Take notes if you want to. If you want to talk later, we can do that. I started doing actually started doing government work. Let's see, 1987, and I became a contractor, a prime contractor, on my own, in probably 93, 94. And prior to that, I was basically a subcontractor, and the reason for that was because I didn't have any I didn't have any desire really to do any more than I was doing at the time, and so I just subcontracted, and we'll talk about that tonight too. The difference between being a prime contractor, a primary contractor, and a subcontractor, because I think a lot of people get the idea sometimes that being a subcontractor is a bad thing, and it's not. It's not at all. In fact, to this very day, and I am still very much a prime contractor. To this very day, I do a lot of subcontracting, and the reason for that is because when you get involved in this and find out how big it is and the scope of this whole thing, you start to go to the meetings and meet people and network and make friends, and you find out that it's a lot better. Bull snot, damn nice hat. You can see my bull snot hat if you look just right there. You see that? Under the spotlight. You see what I'm saying? And I spent the day today, the whole day with Trucker G. Took him to the Harley shop, fed him lunch. I did. I fed him lunch. Him and Mary got to spend the whole day with him. So You did come up. You were on our minds today, in our hearts and in our minds. And we love your stuff. And I told him, G is cheap. G is cheap. Okay, cheap might not even be the right word. Okay, G is like pedestrian, man. Anyway, we started talking about, he said, why'd you put that stuff out there for Van? I said, I like him and his shit is good. And I said, if I believe in a thing, I'm going to talk about it. Greenfield, what up, brother? I hope you're feeling better. I know you are if you be on here. If I believe in a thing, I'll talk about it, and your stuff is just it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And I haven't seen anybody, and I haven't used a single product that wasn't just excellent. So I tell people that. So there you go. Anyway, let's talk about government freight. I started in 1987, and the way I started was I answered the phone. I was walking through the office, and the phone was ringing. It was one of these deals where, and I know you've all been here. Mara says, I use Shinable on my floor. Oops. Van told me last time we were together, he said, don't use Shinable on motorcycle tires. It's too slick. It'll make you slide all over the place. He is correct. It's slick. So good luck with that. Anyway, I was walking through the office and the phone was ringing, and it was one of those deals where I pick up the phone, and turn around and say, anybody going to answer this damn phone? And use Dashable on the floors. Greenfield, you'll get clear, brother. I can feel it. Anyway, anybody going to answer this phone? Well, it was a guy wanting to know if I had any trucks that I could put on a hurricane. And I said, yeah, I might have a few, that kind of thing. And so I gave him some trucks, and we started running hurricane freight and for FEMA. And that was kind of sort of how it all started for me. And then this guy and I got to be friends after we finished that mission, that hurricane. I did a few other operations for him, and we got to be friends. And that's how I got into it. That's how I got involved in it. And then eventually, once I got more and more involved, I saw some other stuff that I wanted to do that didn't involve just doing, hurricanes and disasters. There were so many things to do there with the government. So I went ahead and got my own setup and my own authority, and I started doing it that way. So like I said, I really wasn't trying to do that. But long story short, ever since then, for 30 some years, I've been a prime contractor and I've worked with FEMA, and I did for a long, long time. I spent about a week a month in Washington just going to meetings and being, available when they wanted me to be available. And I moved from doing that into doing other things. Mostly in the beginning, it was just trucking. And I know that's what most of you guys are into, so that's what we'll talk about tonight. But mostly it was just trucking. And then eventually I got into doing ocean charters, tugs and barges, and ocean liners. I'm losing weight. Dude, it's a camera angle. I am not losing weight. I wish I was, but I'm working on it. Need to get a cheeseburger. Okay, I'm with you. So anyway, I got into it that way. And then I started doing ocean charters, and one thing led to another. And I started doing air charters, and that kind of thing. So it just sort of progressed that way. I'm telling you all this because I've never met a lot of you, and a lot of new people are here tonight. And I'm glad to have you, and I'm glad you're here, and you're welcome here. And I just wanted to let everybody know that, that's me. That's who I am. Can you please allow Dan Brandt in? I'd be happy to. If somebody tries to get in the page and they don't answer the questions, I just delete it because I figure, if they don't care, I sure don't. So, and I am that way. Anyway, so I've been a contractor for a long, long time. But let's go back to the very beginning, okay? Let's go back to where, you, new people. And I know some of you are probably at different levels, at different parts of getting involved in the thing. So let's go back to that. Let's go back to the very beginning of how to get set up, how to get involved. And then I want to talk a little bit about each part of that so that you're comfortable with it, so that you can do it without anybody's help, and so that you can be successful at it. I am a big, big, big advocate, okay, of getting started by registering with GSA, Government Services Agency. I'm already set up. Well, good for you. Stay with me. We'll get to that. I wanna talk about every level of it. So I'm a big advocate of going through GSA and becoming a TSP, that's Transportation Services Provider, for GSA. There are other ways to do it. You can go through SAMS. If you have the right connections and know the right people, you can go into the DOD or SDDC. You can get involved in those things other ways. It's harder. It takes longer to do it. And once you do, you're only really set up with either one, the military and nothing else, or two, the military and a few different agencies. So if you get set up with GSA to get started, and all you have to do that, and I'll walk you through that. If you get set up with GSA to get started, as soon as you are set up with them, you're already qualified to work with 13 agencies, because GSA is kind of like the logistics company, clearinghouse, gateway, whatever you want to call it, for 13 different agencies. Of those agencies, the probably one of the biggest ones is the Department of Homeland Security. Under the Department of Homeland Security, okay, is FEMA, USAID, all those different emergency agencies fall under the Department of Homeland Security. So you're already, if you get set up with GSA first, you're already set up to do business with all those agencies. And if you want to move over to the government side, to the SAM side, SDDC, DOD, and get involved in that, because you're set up with GSA and you've met those requirements, you've jumped through those hoops, okay, you're already qualified to work for them too. So if you start out with GSA and get qualified there first, okay, then that opens the door to all the other stuff, and you're already qualified for it. So GSA hasn't been taking any new applicants. They haven't let anybody in for quite a while. They're going to start back in March, and that's why I wanted to do this show now, because if you're thinking about getting set up and you're thinking about getting involved, now is the time. Okay, don't wait. Now is the time. They'll only stay open, as they put it, for sometimes a couple weeks, sometimes a month, you don't know, and then they'll shut it down again, and they won't take anybody else again. So all you need to do to get set up with GSA is log on to their webpage, gsa.gov. gsa.gov. And you'll see a lot of their junk there on their first page, on their homepage. You'll see a lot of crap, and you'll think, what's this got to do with anything? Go in the upper right-hand corner, okay? Upper right-hand corner, in the search area, and type in TSP qualify and hit enter. Then you'll see a whole page or more of transportation service provider, blah, 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 how to get set, what to do, how to do it, all this. Now, this stuff is basically set up so that a beginner can do it. Dan, you're welcome, brother. This stuff is basically set up. Hold on, Dan. See if I'll let you in or not. I don't see you now. This stuff is basically set up so that anybody can do it. So that anybody can You don't have to be, you don't have to have a PhD in rocket science to get set up. Once you get in there and you start the application, we're going to talk about this, okay? And I want you guys to hang with me. We're going to, when you start the application, a couple things to keep in mind, okay? Number one, don't lie. Just don't. You know, you'll sit there and you'll see a question, you know, and it'll say, you know, how many trucks do you have? And if you have one or three or something, you think, they're never going to call me. I'm going to put 30. If you lie, they will throw you out because they will background check you before they let you in. If you lie to them, they'll disqualify you and you'll never get back in. Don't embellish anything. Just put in there what it is. I'm here to tell you, they use one truck carriers just as much as they use 1,000 truck carriers. I'm here to tell you, they use small brokers sitting at home in their office just as much as they do, you know, the big brokers. In fact, more. So don't lie. Don't embellish anything. Take your time and don't make any mistakes. If you make a mistake, if you fat finger something and you make a mistake putting it in and it kicks you out of the system, you're going to have to call the girls at GSA in Kansas City. That's a field office. And there's only 4 girls that work there. And I know them pretty well. You're going to have to call them and say, I made a mistake. Here's my name, blah, blah, blah. They're going to have to go into the system, and whatever mistake you made or whatever thing you did, they're going to have to correct it, and then they'll let you back in the system and you can continue. Now, having said that, it might, when you put in a request for help with them, they might get back to you in 2 hours. It might be 2 weeks. It might be 3 weeks. There's only 4 of them. And if they open up the gates, the floodgates, you know, in March, they're going to be buried with people. So try not to, just take your time, be careful, you know, read your answers before you hit enter on all that stuff. You know how to do that stuff. It's like anything else, okay? But I'm just telling you this. If you come to a question that you cannot answer, okay, stop right there. You can get out of the system, okay, and you can come back into it and pick up right where you left off, okay, and you can do that indefinitely, 30 days, 60 days, whatever. They're gonna ask you for a SCAC code, SCAC, SCAC code. If you don't already have one, get one, okay, because they're gonna ask you for that. They are only going to know you, the government, and all their systems, all their computer systems, and they're all over the place, and there's a million of them, okay? They're only going to know you by your TSP, your Transportation Service Provider number, and your SCAC code. They don't care about your MC number. They don't care about your DOT number. They don't care about any of that. They just care about your SCAC code. That's what they go by on everything. That's what your billing goes by. That's what your payments are made to. Just Google it, SCAC code. When you go onto that GSA website, there's part where it tells you need a SCAC code. It's got the web address where you can go to and get your SCAC code. I want to say it's like $30 or something to get your SCAC code. Most carriers already have them. It's a 4-digit code. But it'll tell you in that GSA application how to go about getting your SCAC code. And you're going to have it. It's the only thing they identify you with, your SCAC code. That's how you do your billing. That's how you get paid. It's critical, okay? So get your SCAC code. Go into that GSA TSP application, okay, and take your time. Don't lie. Don't bullshit. You don't have to. You don't need to, okay? Message me. I'll send you the information on SCAC code. There you go. It's on the GSA page too. Yeah, there you go. There it is. So take your time on the application. I've helped over the years a lot of people get set up to do government work. I've only ever had one person, one time during the application process call me up and say, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. Michael Culler, what up? I've only had one person. So it's easy to do. Last I knew, cost Brenda. Brenda, where you been? You need to come to Nashville. You need to come to Nashville and buy my lunch. No. Hell yeah. Big blue ass truck. Anyway, take your time on the application. Okay? Take your time. How long does it take to get the scat code? Not long, a couple days. At the most. Take your time on the application. Fill it out correctly. You're going through a computer system, okay? You're not dealing with a person. Take your time, do it correct. Because once you're in, you're in. That's it. You don't have to go back. Nobody's gonna call you on 1 to 2 days. Nobody's gonna ever go back and say, Hi, Bob. We were looking at your application and we noticed that you're only 5'7". You's a short little motherfucker, ain't you? They're not gonna do that. Okay? All they're gonna know is you are a qualified transportation services provider and you can do the work. Okay? Now, take your time. Be patient. If I could just tell everybody that wants to get into government work, and even if you're in it and you want to get better at it, okay? I can help you there too, and I'm glad to. Be patient. You're dealing with the government, okay? The systems that they use, that .gov system that they use, is a clanky, crummy, old, tired system, and it's just like everything else with the government. The cheapest bidder got the job. So that's what you're dealing with. So be patient. And when you talk to people, be nice and be patient. Because they're stuck, they're stuck with the same mess you are. They're dealing with the same shit you are all day, every day, okay? So be nice to them, be patient with them, and you'll get where you want to go. You will. You will get there. Okay? Be patient. Take it easy. All right? So, GSA, I recommend that you get set up with them for the reasons that I've told you. And I want to try to get a lot covered tonight, so I'm not going to repeat myself. But GSA is the way I suggest you go. There are other ways to go if you want to go that way. It is my firm belief that as a free American, you should be able to do any fucking thing you want to do, anytime you want to do it, as long as it doesn't hurt another person. So if you think I'm full of shit and you want to go another way, hell, have at it. Have at it. Do it to it. GSA is where I direct people, and I've helped, a couple thousand get set up. It will get you where you want to go faster. Now, I want to talk about FEMA, because I've had 3 or 4 people send me messages ever since I said I was going to. Trucker G, made it. I thought you were going to sleep. Oh, you didn't want to go to sleep because then you'll stay awake all night wandering the streets. Out there wandering the streets. Brother, it was so good to see you today. God damn it, we just don't hang out enough. Okay, take your time, be patient, go through GSA, do it right. You'll be a happy man and woman. Do it that way. Trust me on this. Trust me on this. It'll open up the door. The other thing I've had 3 or 4 messages and emails and stuff, and a lot of people in our business think that when you say government to them, the first thing that pops into their mind is FEMA. I'm going to give me some FEMA freight. I'm going to haul me some $8 a mile FEMA freight. There is no such thing as $8 a mile FEMA freight. And if you log in there thinking you're going to get it, you'll find that out. The other thing I don't suggest FEMA for new people. FEMA's a bad idea for a new service provider. Let me tell you why. FEMA moves a lot of freight during the year that is not connected to or a part of a disaster. They move they have warehouses here and there, and they have distribution centers here and there, and they are forever, replenishing those warehouses because stuff expires. and they'll get rid of it. Uh, they'll get rid of it, and they replenish all the time, and they move stuff around. They have equipment that they move around all the time. I've moved a couple of caterpillars and earth movers down to Puerto Rico for them several times because they changed their offices and their yards and all down there, and they had to pretty much build it from scratch. So I moved a lot of heavy equipment down there over the years to help them do that. So they move stuff all the time. That's not part of a disaster. It's not part of, a hurricane or anything like that. It's just a load. You pick the load up, you deliver it, you bill them, you get paid. Now that stuff, if you're a rookie, if you're new at this, that stuff's fine. That's just great. Okay? It's great. So if you get involved in a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake or a natural disaster, and FEMA's using 1,000 trucks, which they do, okay, and you're new at this, here's what you're going to find out day one. You can lose your ass really fast. Let me tell you why. There's not a factoring company in the world that'll touch it. So unless you've got the money to cash roll it, to cash flow it, and pay your carriers, because they want to get paid on Friday, right? Yes, they do. So unless you can cash flow it, stay out of it. You might get an order, and somebody will call you up and say, I need 12 trucks. And you go, hell, I can do that. And you get your 12 trucks, and you put them on that TSP, GBL, Government Bill of Lading, and all 12 trucks are on the same bill of lading, because that's how it works, okay? And you send all of them to pick up loads of water in Louisville, Kentucky, and those loads are going to Miami because the hurricane's coming, it's going to tear it up, and there ain't going to be no water. And you got 12 trucks headed that way under one bill of lading. Got it? And then they get to Atlanta, those trucks get to Atlanta, somebody from FEMA calls and says, hey, wait a minute, hold it, stop, time. The storm has changed tracks. We're not going to Miami anymore. Now we're going to Jacksonville. Don't go to Miami. Go to Jacksonville. Now you got 12 trucks out there that you just told you were going to pay this much money per mile to go to Miami, and they're not going there anymore. There's no order for that anymore. So now you're changing over to Jacksonville. It's a lot shorter, isn't it? Yeah, it is. But guess what? The rate's different too. So if you've got 12 trucks out there and you're a broker and you've got 12 different rate confirmations on those trucks, okay? You're going to have to change all 12 of them. You're going to have to call the trucking companies and you got to say, yeah, we're not going to Miami anymore. Now we're going to Jacksonville. And you're going to have to convince them to do that and that it's okay. Because I'm going to tell you, once you got a FEMA load on, you ain't saying no. That ain't going to happen for you. So now you got to talk your trucks into going to Jacksonville. And you got to tell them the rate's different because guess what? It is. It's very different. The other thing you got to do with FEMA is that you have to report to them every 2 hours. If you have a current government bill of lading working, whether it's got 2 trucks on it or 300 trucks on it, you've got to report to them every 2 hours the location of that equipment. And if you have 300 trucks and you call them in 2 hours, or they call you, or you send an email, and you only report 298, they're going to call and rip your ass like a brand new summer storm. They want all 300 and they want them now. You got 15 minutes to get back to me with the others. And if you don't comply with that, they will let you deliver, and then they will throw you out and you won't ever get any more FEMA loads. So when those loads deliver and they get there and you got 12 trucks, okay, we're going to keep using this because I want you guys to stay with me on this. They get there, and then the receiver down there in Jacksonville says, I really appreciate you getting here. You guys did a great job, but we only really need 4 of these loads. Everything changed again, didn't it? Everything changed. And they said, we only need really 4 of them. And here's what we want you to do. We want you to drop your trailers in that field right down the street, and we'll call you when they're empty. They're not talking about 2 hours. They might be talking about 2 weeks. And all 12 of those trucks, now 8 of them are headed back to Louisville with their water because nobody wants it. This has happened to me, guys, a bunch of times, okay? It's not a new thing. Now the other 8 trucks are headed back to Louisville, okay? And you got 4 trailers sitting down there, and the drivers can't do anything because now they don't have any trailers. You got to change all those rate confirmations. You got to talk your truck drivers into doing this, right? And you might have to wait until all 4 of those trailers are empty and all 8 of those loads are delivered before you can bill for the load. And then it's going to take 30 days to get paid. Like I said, you're not going to find a factoring company that'll touch it. They're not going to do it. They don't want to because they know these things, okay? Is there anything different with FEMA for a carrier or a broker? Not with what I'm talking about. No. That's why I don't suggest that a newbie, a new government service provider, that's why I don't suggest that you start out working on a disaster with FEMA. If you want to do their other freight, great. I mean, jump in. It's wonderful. But if you get involved in a disaster, everything changes every 15 minutes. Everything changes. You have to be prepared to deal with that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even if it takes 3 weeks. And let me tell you, you will answer the phone when they call you. Okay? My son, when he took over our company about 8 years ago, he came in and he sat down and he said, "Dad, I know you like doing the government stuff. I know you made a lot of friends up there. As a broker, will all drivers require a TWIC card working with government load?" No, they don't. It doesn't hurt, but no, they don't. Being a sub sounds like the smart route for a newbie. If you're going to do disaster freight, it is, but stop. Stop thinking about FEMA, people. Stop thinking. FEMA's not for you. You'll lose your ass doing FEMA. Trucker G says, Frank 3 loves FEMA. He loves FEMA because they love him, but he won't haul FEMA loads. When he took over the company about 8 years ago, he came in and he sat down and he said, "I know you like doing government freight. I know you like doing this. I know you like doing that. I'm not doing any more disaster freight. If you want to do it, have at it. I'm not interested." So that was the deal we made. And I have done some since then. They call me up. I know some people. Okay? So I'll help with this or help with that. But I know how to do it. I've been doing it for 40 years. I know how to do it. I know how to bill it. Now, another thing about government freight, you're going to have to set up an account with U.S. Bank, whether you like them or not. You're going to have to do that because that's where you do all your billing and that's where your money comes from when you get paid. And the government, bless their little hearts, this disaster freight sounds very risky. It is. Trucker Jesus Freight 3.5. I'll send him down. He's only about a mile from you. I'll send him over there, wake your ass up about 2:30. You probably already be up because you ain't slept in about a week. Anyway, you're going to have to set up with U.S. Bank because that's how you do your billing and that's how you get paid. They made a deal with that. And the government has over the years gotten better, at doing some things because when I first started, you might have to wait 6 months to get paid on something. High risk, high reward? That depends, Kyle. That all depends. High reward, maybe, maybe not. A lot of the disaster freight that I did, and I did a lot. There have been times I've had 300 trucks running on disaster freight. Most of that I did. U.S. Bank is going to help you with all your government freight now. Anyway, the only reason I did it was because I did other things. And if I saw something and I wanted it, I'd call them up and go, "I want those 36 moves right there." "I don't know." I said, No, bitch. I want them. And if you want 300 trucks the next time a hurricane hits, you damn well better just send them over and quit crying. That's why I did a lot of FEMA freight. And really and truly, guys, no other reason. No other reason. I don't like dealing with them. They're hard to deal with. They're good people, and they're out to save lives and help people. That's what they do. And they're good at that. But as a service provider, as a trucking company, the requirements that are placed on you and the hoops that you have to jump through are just incredible. So government freight is on some government load board. Government freight's on about 40 load boards. We're going to get to that. Stay with me. I ask you not to ask too many questions until we get kind of toward the end. I will get to that. So when you go through there and you get qualified with GSA and you get your transportation, your TSP number, okay, that's going to open up the whole world to you. It's going to be like Christmas in July. You're going to be able to get on these different agencies and you'll have to put rates in with all that. You'll never do a FEMA load unless you have rates posted there. They're called tenders. You have to put your rates in, and the government calls rates tenders. So you have to put rates in there. You can know somebody like I do, okay, and call them on the phone and say, hey, bitch, I see you got a hurricane going, and you didn't call me with any loads. And they'll go, your rates are too high. That's how it works. So it's going to be like Christmas in July. When you get set up with GSA, all this stuff, and the federal government is 100 times bigger than Walmart when it comes to transportation. They have the biggest logistics budget on this planet. It's in the billions. Okay? They move freight all over the place. Now let's talk about, I don't want to talk about FEMA anymore. I don't want to see any of you guys doing FEMA. And I'm going to tell you right now, most of the time I'm a pretty nice guy, especially if I'm well-fed fishing, real nice guy, okay? If you get on FEMA freight and you have a problem, don't fucking call me. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Because right here tonight, I told you that it's very risky and very expensive, and you can absolutely lose your ass doing it. So don't fucking call me. Just don't. Just don't. You'll be sitting there going, damn, what do I do? I wonder if that fat guy on YouTube and I wonder if that fat guy on YouTube and Facebook, I wonder if he can help me. He's been doing it a long time, and you're going to dig around. You're not going to find my phone number because I don't put it on Facebook like other people. Okay? But somebody might give it to you, and you're going to be tempted to call me up and say, I've got 36 trucks, and I owe them money, and they're not paying me. What do I do? I see somebody on social media, and they go, I took this load to Miami, and now there ain't no freight coming out. You didn't know that before you went to Miami? You know right now from a guy that's been doing it for 40 years that FEMA is difficult and risky. You know who needs help? I'll tell you who needs help. The Department of the Interior, specifically the Department of Agriculture, needs your help. You know all those floods that they're having out in California? And prior to that, California and the whole West Coast out there lately has just been a mess because it seems like if they're not having a flood, they're having a fire. They need your help. Let me tell you what they do. Let me tell you how that works. For them, you pick up a load in wherever, Indiana. You take that load to California. You deliver it. They're real happy to see you because they want their shit, okay? You deliver it, and about 10 minutes after you deliver it, your driver calls and he faxes or sends you or takes a picture with his phone and sends you that signed copy of the bill of lading, and you can bill it instantly, and you'll get paid in 15 to 18 days. You don't have to factor it. You don't have to worry about your money. It's there. Lipsy's lost their ass 30 times. That guy's an asshole. I know him. I've had to do business with him before. Lipsy used to have water. He had this big place in Atlanta, and he had water, and he'd sell it to FEMA, and then he opened up a brokerage and do it. And then he started buying water all over the place and selling it back to FEMA. And he got caught doing that, and he got his tit in the ringer. He's an asshole. You can tell him I said that. Use my name. Anyway, FEMA's not the place for new people. It's just not. If you want to haul their one-on-one loads, great. Otherwise, the Department of the Interior needs your help. Okay? I'll tell you who else needs your help. Everybody. They move more freight than you shake a stick at. Every agency you can think of. I've actually even moved a couple of times, several times, the Secret Service when the president was going somewhere on a tour. I've done that. Everybody, I mean, there's so much there. There's so much going on. The National Archives, they move documents and art all over the place. And they do it on guarded trucks that are bulletproof with an escort. And there's probably a lady on here right now that does that. She's a friend of mine. And I've done that. They need your help. U.S. Mint, they follow you everywhere most of the time. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They need your help. They move money around. Yeah. They move all kind of shit around. The military bases, don't say names. People, what the fuck's wrong with you? God damn. The government, all these places, they got all these big bases, and military bases and camps. And guess what those people do? They eat and they shit. So they've got to have food and toilet paper. So there's all that stuff moving around all the time. Okay? And that's a world all its own. Now I'm going to tell you a story. I love stories. I'm going to tell you a story. A few years back, I helped a lady get started. She wanted to do, she called me and she was really smart. She had all those departments are available through GSA. Not all of them, but most of them. Most of them are. Like I said, once you get set up with GSA, you're qualified to do stuff for everybody. Let me tell you my story. Listen to my story. This lady called me. In fact, she came to Nashville and she met with me. She wanted me to help her get set up to do government work. And she said, I want to do this. She said, I just want to do it the simplest, easiest way I can. What do I do? And I told her just what I'm telling you. Get set up with GSA. It opens the door to everything. It's the gatekeeper for everything. You can do this, you can do that. Get set up with them. I said, then, if you want to move into military freight, if you want to move into all this other stuff, then you can do that too. But start with that. 5 days later, she was in with GSA. She was done. She didn't play around. She got in there and she got it done. She called me back. She said, all right, what do I do now? I want to get in with the military. And I said, okay, here's what you do. You go to this website, ustranscom.com, and you start registering with them. Okay, thank you very much. A few days later, guess what? She was set up with them too. You know what she does? She sits at her house in her sweatpants, I would imagine now, because it's wintertime, and a shirt, t-shirt. She has small kids. And she's married, and her husband works. He works for her now. That's the end of the story. But anyway, she gets up in the morning, she feeds the kids, the oldest one she takes off to school. She comes back, she sets up her computer, and she brokers 4 or 5 loads a day from one military base all over the country. That's it. She doesn't chase hurricanes because that's stupid. She doesn't chase hurricanes. She doesn't chase, earthquakes. She's not trying to get a 6-year contract with, the toilet paper company. She moves 4 or 5 loads a day from one military base because they do refurbishes on materials, and her brother-in-law is the logistics officer. Imagine that. She had a plan. He gives her 4 or 5. She used to own flatbed trucks. She owned 5 of them. And she was running them. And after 3 or 4 months, she said, why do I want to mess with these trucks? And the driver's mad all the time. Always wanting this, always wanting that. Fuck it. She sold the trucks to the drivers, and now she brokers freight to them. She moves 4 or 5 loads a day. She makes about $200, $250, sometimes $300 per load, depending on where it's going. Okay? She does that 5 days a week. She takes weekends off. At home, with a laptop, in her underwear, eating Doritos and that kind of thing. That is when I see people wanting to get into government, when I see people, wanting to move into that world and get in that business and start doing government business, that's what I see. That's what I see. I don't see, you sitting there and getting a phone call for a hurricane load and trying to amass 300 trucks to chase a hurricane. You can't afford it. It's too much for you to handle administratively. It's too much for you to handle operationally. Been there, done that. I can handle it. I can run 300 trucks. Been there, done it. My son would, probably try to strangle me in the night while I'm sleeping, but I can make a phone call and get right back in that game tomorrow because they're always begging for help. Always begging for help. But the government's so big and got so much going on. And when you get qualified through GSA, you're going to start getting emails. They're going to direct you to, their different agencies, their different websites. You know who's great to work for? United States Postal Service. You might not know this, but I'll tell you. U.S. Transcom. That's for military stuff. Once you start registering, you'll get to that. Another thing that I want to mention right now. When you're filling out your registration for GSA, it's a beautiful thing because sometimes in a lot of cases, not all, but some cases, you'll get some exception or some consideration if you are a minority company. Now understand this, okay? The government's definition of a minority has about 40 to 43 different designations, okay? Being African American doesn't necessarily, okay, you're a minority, but that's not the only one. There's a million of them. There's 40 some, okay? Female is one. What else? The list goes on. But when you're answering those questions during your application for GSA, does ownership need to be 51 minority ownership or is 50-50 acceptable? Doesn't matter. In the long run, it doesn't matter. Would Mrs. G qualify? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Especially if she was smart enough to get rid of you. Good God. Mrs. G, are you kidding me? As nice as she is, as sweet as she is, with all the friends she's made over the years, are you kidding me? She wouldn't be riding around in a Kenworth, brother. She'd be riding around in a Prevost with her own driver and security team. I'm just telling, kind of like today. Kind of like riding around in the back seat, kind of watching the world go by while a couple of brothers drive and buy her lunch. I'm just saying. Women-owned disadvantaged business. Anyway, they're going to ask you these questions while you're getting set up with GSA to qualify because they're always looking for minorities. They want to make sure that you are. Again, don't lie. Okay, if you lie, like if your great uncle, Marvin, once told a story at a family gathering that y'all's mostly Cherokee, unless you can prove it, don't put it on the application because they will disqualify you and throw you the fuck out. Don't do it. If you're sure of it, then do it. If you're not, don't do it. Don't lie. She is blind and can't read a tape measure. Is there any way you could get her to limp? Let's talk tomorrow. If you could get her to limp, just drag that one foot. Never mind. We'll talk tomorrow. I still think I can get her qualified. I'm not worried about that. So, they will ask you if you are a minority. They will qualify you to see if you're a minority. And if you are and if you qualify, then they will start telling you all the things that you're qualified to do and all the things that they would like for you to do. Let me tell you the reason why. Let's use SDDC, okay? SDDC is global. They're like FEMA on steroids. What FEMA does for the American and for the American territories, SDDC does it globally. Same thing. They they send supplies, they send help, to people globally. And once they get past the American border, the gloves come off. They can do any fucking thing they want to. They're great to work for. They're great. And I'll tell you another thing about them. They are behind. Last time I talked to them, it's been a long time. They were about 30% behind on minority quotas. See, they have quotas. And if they don't use those quotas and fill them up, they don't get funding from Congress next year. SDDC, do they work in Mexico? Read my lips. SDDC is global. They work everywhere. They go all over the world. Does the business already have to be designated as a minority owner, or is it established in the application process? For purposes of the government, it is established in the application process because what they're looking for is 8A, and I'm not going to explain everything, guys. We'll be here all night long. And I'm okay with that, but I don't want to bore a lot of people. What they're looking for is 8A minorities, okay? And they have to use them. Now, just because you are, an 8A minority, that doesn't mean you're going to automatically get the job. You still have to be qualified to do the job. Part of what I do, and I've been doing this for years and years and years, is some of these companies will go in and they'll make a proposal to do, a long-term contract. And if they do, they have to meet what's called an ISC 300, which means their management structure has to mirror the management structure of the agency that they're working for, whether it's the United States Marine Corps, whether it's the U.S. Mint, whether it's the FBI, and they move freight too, by the way. Whether it's any of your management structure has to mirror their management structure. So does the size of the company matter? In some cases, it does. Listen to me. Ask questions later. I'm trying to cover this. A lot of people will call me on the phone and say, hey, we're doing this thing. I do a lot of work for O'Brien's down in New Orleans because they're friends of mine. But they'll say, we're doing a proposal and we need a director of operations. Will you do that for us? And they'll send me the contract, the proposal. I'll read it. If I like it and I want to, participate in it, I'll sign off on it and I'll let them use my name, and they pay me for that. I've been doing that for years. I've been operations director, safety director. Oh, shit. I've done a lot of things for a lot of people because I've been doing this for so long. I have the qualifications to do all that. So you have to be able to mirror that because somebody's going to say, I want to get me one of them great big contracts. What do I do? Well, that's where you start. Getting involved with the government's a whole lot like getting a brand new, great big customer. You've still got to work that customer, okay? You've still got to make those contacts and build those relationships. You can go on there. There's so much of it. You can go on there and bid on stuff. We're going to talk about that next. You can go on there and bid on stuff, and somebody will call you on the phone just because of a rate. You can do that. But then you're going to end up with the cheap shit, and you're not going to be happy with that. Neither would I. Nobody would be, right? So that's not what you want to do. Let's talk about rates for a minute. When you get set up with GSA and the whole world opens up to you and it becomes Christmas in July and you're automatically day one qualified to move freight for 13 different agencies. SDDC is one. United States Postal Service is one. We'll talk about them in a minute. What's going to happen, what you're going to find out at that point is you're going to go into each one of those agencies. Now, you hadn't even called the Army, Navy, Marine Corps. You haven't even looked at those people yet. You haven't even looked at, the Forestry Department. Well, you're going to now because you're set up with GSA, and that is one of their agencies. So you're going to look on there. What you're going to find out is that they don't talk to each other. I know that sounds funny. It's the truth. You're going to have to go in there and put in rates for all those different tenders, they call them. They don't call them rates, they call them tenders. You're going to have to go in there and put in tenders for all of those agencies. Now, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm pretty good at it. I know how to do it. I do. I know how to sit down and do it. I've done it lots of times. If I were to sit down at a computer at 8 o'clock every morning and type in rates for all these agencies, it would take me a year to get rates in there. A year. Minimum, at least. Maybe more. You still need a capability statement with GSA you can answer at the end. I can answer or not whenever I want to. Yes, you do. So here's what you want to do. You remember the story I told you about the nice little lady that does her 4 or 5 loads a day and makes $1,000 to $1,500 a day, and she's real fucking happy with that. Remember that lady? Remember her? She didn't put any rates with anybody except the United States Marine Corps, and she only put in about 10 or 15 rates with them because she knew what she wanted to do. She already had a plan. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. She didn't spend a year from 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening, with 30 minutes for lunch, plugging rates into a computer. I know people that have done that. I do. I know people that have done that because I know a lot of stupid people. But anyway, that's not what she did. That's not what she did. She went right where she wanted to go. She plugged in the rates for the lanes she wanted to do. Voila! She was done. That's what she did. And that's what I want you to do. That's exactly what I want you to do. When you get set up with GSA and the whole world opens up to you, if you've got dry vans, okay, then I want you to look at these different agencies. I want you to look at what they do with dry vans. I want you to pick the lanes that you think you can service because trust me when I tell you, bad service with the government will get your ass kicked out real fast. Look at the lanes you want to do. Look at the lanes you feel like you can service and plug your tenders in to those lanes. Don't sit there for 2 or 3 days plugging rates in going, I got to use some. It will come. It will come. Don't panic. What did I say in the beginning? Be patient. Be patient. Go to these different agencies and plug it in. If you run reefers, plug it in. If you are a broker and you broker primarily dry vans, stay in your lane. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Stay in your lane. It's there, people. All the freight is there. They are gigantic. They are huge. Okay? Stay in your lane. Do what you can do. Don't think that you're going to get $8 a mile freight because I'm here to tell you, unless you've got a bulletproof truck and trailer, unless you are prepared to hire security to escort your truck and trailer, unless your drivers are armed, trained guards, and they're a team, you're not going to get any $8 a mile freight. You'll get some $5 a mile freight. You will. Yeah, I mean, there's a good bit of that out there, especially if you're into open deck stuff like Mara does, the RGNs, flatbeds, drop decks, that kind of thing. When you start moving equipment for them, that's where the money is. Same as in the real world. If you're just doing vans, if you're just doing reefers, they got some money. But if you're just doing vans and stuff like that, the rates are okay, but they're not spectacular, but they're okay. And the beauty of it is, if you get a phone call, from one of these logistics officers, and they give you a couple of loads to try you out, do a good job, because they're looking for somebody, and that happens all day, every day. They are looking for somebody to help them. So when you're doing your rates, don't sit there and try to fill up the whole page. You'll never do it. You'll never do it. You'll never do it. And you can't populate like an Excel spreadsheet and take it from one to the other because every single different rate page for every single different agency is different. You can't duplicate it. You can't copy and paste. You can't do it. It'll never happen. I've had some of the smartest computer people in the whole world try to do that for me. You with me? All right. So that's how you get started. Go on there and take your time. Fill out the application. Take your time. Do it right the first time. Don't lie. And don't make any mistakes. Because if you fat finger a number and it kicks you out, then you got to call my girls out in Kansas City. They'll call you back whenever. I mean, whenever. They'll call. They're nice people. They're very busy people. They'll call you back whenever. And they'll put you back in. You can correct your mistake and pick up and go from there. If one is a broker with no assets, do we still need to say zero? No, you designate yourself as a broker. You're a broker. You designate yourself. Somebody's going to ask me a question, so let me answer that for you. Yeah, some people are under the impression that you have to be in business for 3 years. Some of them you have to be in business for a year for the government to accept you and to use you on government freight. That's not true. For some freight, it is true. For some loads, for some of the things they do, that is true, but not nearly all of it. So it's so big, guys. And I mean, there's some loads like if you do a load for one of the agencies, and it's an extremely high dollar load. Mara's familiar with this. If you do a load for certain agencies, or for, let's say for the military, and it's a real high dollar load. Let's say it's a weapon, or something real high dollar. What they'll do on the GBL, government bill of lading, all that is listed there before you bid on it. Okay, it's all listed there, and it will tell you what the insurance requirements are, what the what your requirements are, what your equipment requirements, the time of pickup, the time of delivery, and they'll give you a window. All this. It's most of the time it's very, 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 very detailed. Okay. And they'll tell you what the insurance requirements are. If you're going to do that, if you want to do the real high dollar stuff, which pays very well, guys, I mean, it does, pays very well. If you're going to do that, when you start the qualification process, at some point, call your insurance provider and tell them that you're getting into the government business, and that from time to time you're going to have to have a rider on your insurance policy, so that you don't have to go out and buy $8 or $10 million worth of insurance just to do one load. You can put the rider on there. Now that rider obviously is not free, and when you go to put your rates in there, consider that and add the rider to the rate. You with me? It's all part of it. It's all part of the deal. Van freight's pretty easy. I mean, van freight and reefer freight's, for most of the time, it's pretty easy. It's just not much more difficult than working on load boards. Question for you. They won't talk to you until they get open. You can start filling out the paperwork now, but they won't talk to you until they get open. March. I don't know what day. They'll tell you. I mean, once you get logged in there and start the process, they'll put up notices. They haven't taken anybody new for a long time because they don't need anybody. We had COVID, and a lot of their people were at home. So this is about 2 years there. They didn't put on any of the new TSPs, so they're probably needing some. They're probably looking for some. I don't have any fucking idea. I'm not going to sit here and talk about rates all night. Shit, are you kidding me? I think you'll make anywhere from $1.70 to $6. It depends on the load, where it goes. You're talking about the biggest logistics company in the world, and nobody can sit here and tell you, what you're going to make and whatnot. I started taking out Postal Service and then went away from it. Every year, the United States Postal Service every year has a thing pop up called the holidays. And what they do is it's separate from everything else they do all year. And they used to do it in Washington, and you used to have to go there, sit in the meeting, shake hands with everybody, hug them, take them to lunch, all that shit. Now they do it regionally, but they move mail through the holidays, and it's a special deal for all that mail you're sending to grandma and all the packages you're sending to your grandkids and all they're sending to you and all that shit. They do that, and last year they did somewhere around $200 million in just seasonal mail. It only lasts for 6 weeks. You have to get in there. If you're a broker, you have to find your carriers and try to set them up on round trips, which you can do. You can do that. Then you have to put your rates in there, and you have to call the regional office and say, I'd like to make tenders on these lanes. Okay? If you're a new provider, don't expect. The first year I did it, I got about $4 million worth of business, gross, not net, gross. The second year I did it, they figured out I could do okay. They figured out I was pretty good at it, and I got around $7 million. And then it went from there. I have a friend down in Atlanta that does about 40 to 50 million every year, and that is all he does. He doesn't do anything else. He doesn't do anything. He has some ladies working for him, been working for him for years and years and years, and they know what to do. And they work about 4 months a year. It takes them a while to put it all together every year, get all their rates in, get all their carriers. They use the same carriers all the time. They've been doing it 20-something years. They use all the same carriers. They set up all the lanes. They set up all the trips. They stick their tenders in there. They get them back. Sometimes they have to retender, back and forth, back. And then when the work actually starts, it only goes for, like I said, about 5 weeks, 6 at the most, because on December 26th, it's over. It's over. It stops. Everybody goes home. It's done. It's done. Then it takes him probably a month, 6 weeks to get all his billing done. By the time he gets all his paperwork back from his carriers and all that stuff, he has to send in all his bills. And if you make a mistake on a bill, they don't tell you. You just go to the bank and there's no money. You go home and you tell your wife that you were going to take her somewhere, but you ain't got no money. She goes, what do you mean? You go, I went to the bank, there ain't no money. The government doesn't call you and say, hi, how you doing? We didn't send you any money because you made a mistake. They don't care. They don't have anybody to do that. You do it. So you'll call them the next morning and you'll say, I went to the bank yesterday. My wife's really mad. We were going to go out to dinner, and there ain't no money. What's the deal? And they'll say, okay, what's your scat code? And you'll tell them. And they'll go, da, 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 da. Oh, I see here. You made 3 mistakes on your billing. You need to get those corrected and send them back in. So you go back in there, you correct the mistakes on your billing. It might take them 2 weeks to call you and tell you that. You go back, you correct the mistakes, you redo it, and then 30 days after that, you get paid. Now you see why I don't think new people should be doing FEMA. I think if you've got plenty of money and you're a dumb motherfucker, you should do anything you want to do. But you can lose your ass really fast doing FEMA if you don't know what you're doing. So everybody calls me up and go, hey, Frank, are you doing any FEMA classes? Yeah, I'll go, yes, I am. Here it is. You ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Don't fucking do it. There it is. Next. Guys, the government trough, okay, is so big. And they've got so much stuff going on all the time, year round. Okay, never stops. That, okay, bye. That, don't zero in on one thing or another or this or that. Find your spot, stay in your lane, get comfortable there. And then when you have time, okay, when you have time, get on the computer and plug in some more tenders. Here's some lanes I can do. Oh, gee whiz. I, boy, I had no idea the Marine Corps did that. Jeez, I can do that. Plug in a few tenders, okay, and then grow your business. Grow your business. Another thing I want to tell you about being patient about doing government business is that it is incredibly time consuming, depending on how good a manager you are of your time. It's very, very time consuming because there's so much of it. That's why I want to really impress on everybody, once you get set up, once you get qualified, okay? Once you get qualified, stay in your lane, do what's comfortable. Be a little patient. It'll come. They need help all the time. It will come to you. You'll find work. Okay? Take your time and do what you can manage. You and two or three other people can spend all day, every day, searching those websites for those different agencies and for the military and all that stuff. You can spend all day, every day, searching those for freight, if that's what you want to do. You won't make any money, but you can do that. It's incredibly time consuming. And that's why a lot of people, I've done some consulting with big companies, several of them, and we're going to get in the government business, Frank. We'll give you $150,000 to come over here and get us set up. What do you say? And I say, well, it's $200,000, and I stay in really nice motels, and weekends I go home. Okay, come on. 3 different ones that I've got set up, did it for 5-6 months and quit. These were companies that hired a director of government affairs, and they designated a part of the office building just for their new government division. They hired operations managers. They hired operations people, clerks and dispatchers, people to do the billing, people to do the administrative part of the work. They hired people to come in and put it out there on the media that they are now available for government work, and if you want to work for them, all government freight, come on down. 6 months later, they closed the fucking doors and said, yeah, we ain't doing this. Then you got the lady sitting out there in Phoenix in her fucking underwear making $200,000 a year. Pick one. You see, well, I'm not trying to discourage anybody. I don't do that. That's not my game, okay? I'm not trying to discourage anybody. I'm just trying to get you guys, to look at this thing from as a very, very big, potentially huge part of your business that you have to go into with the idea of you're going to manage it. You're not going to let it manage you. You have to do that. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And there's so much of it. So many different kinds of freight. Use different kinds of equipment. Going in so many different directions. It is absolutely overwhelming. So focus on what you're good at. Focus on who you want to be and where you want to be and where you want to push your business. Okay? Focus on that. Stay focused. Getting set up's really not that hard. I see a lot of people freak out. I got on that GSA and that son of a bitch told me the other night, get on there. Damn, that shit is hard. They've set it up so that a 7th grader can do it. You see what I'm saying? It's not hard. It's tedious. Be patient. Okay? Be patient. They're going to give you a list of names, once you get into it. You need to be very strict. Dan, if you send a truck driver to a military base and he has something illegal in his truck, like, I don't know, drugs, a weapon, that kind of thing, here's what they're going to do right at the gate, right there at the gate. They're going to impound your equipment and your load. They're going to have the driver arrested, usually by local law enforcement, not by them, but they'll call the police and hold him there. They'll point their guns at him and make him lay with his face on the ground until the police get there. And then they'll turn him over to them and they'll have him arrested. Then you got a problem. So how you vet your carriers, you got to be careful, okay? And you can't control everything. You really can't. You know that. I know that. Okay. Mara's telling you they send the dog through your truck. Yes, they do. You can tell the carrier that, Dan, all you want to till you're blue in the face. You can say, look, I'm going to give you these 2 loads, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you send some guy try to get in that gate, if he's got an outstanding warrant, I don't care, child support, I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. If he's got anything at all illegal in that truck, they will impound your shit and lock you up. Tell your carriers, look, if that's a problem, do not take these loads. Because if that happens, I'm going to call that load delivered at the gate, and I ain't paying you nothing. So just so you know that. Kissing pavement, I'm familiar with that from the military. Yes, as am I. It's been a long time. They will get your ass. Yes, they will. And they don't play. There's no leniency. There's no, oh, come on, buddy. There's none of that. If they find anything illegal in that truck, your ass is going to jail and your truck is impounded. Instantly. Immediately. And you got a problem. So, hope that answers your question. You can't control, as a broker, that's the scariest part of being a broker is that you can't, control all that. So, really and truly, at the end of the day, if you've got company trucks, it's kind of the same. I mean, you think a guy who's been driving for you for 4 years, and then all of a sudden one night he gets, busted in West Memphis and locked up for soliciting drugs from a prostitute. You had no idea. So, you don't know. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between being a prime contractor and being a subcontractor. I started out as a subcontractor, and I really wasn't terribly interested in just becoming a government guy. I did become one, but I started out as a subcontractor. All these things I'm telling you about changing your rate confirmations, changing your orders, updating every 2 hours, all that stuff for FEMA stuff. Some of the loads that you'll haul for other agencies have different requirements too. But as far as getting qualified and getting set up, it's a lot easier to go through somebody like Bennett, Mercer, those guys that do a lot of government freight. It's a lot easier to go through them. And the other thing about being a subcontractor is you get paid on Friday. I mean, damn. In our world, small, medium carriers, small, medium brokers, cash flow is king. Cash flow is everything, okay? It takes people years and years to build up a big enough bank account to cash flow an operation like that. And then when you do that, not everybody's willing to risk it. To do a logistics claim or a logistics move. Not everybody's willing to do that. So, keep that in mind when you jump into this thing. Starting out as a subcontractor for another company, number one, it'll teach you the ropes. It'll teach you, a lot about the business, the shippers and receivers. It'll teach you a lot about that. And it'll give you a real good hard look at the business and help you decide whether you really want to get into it or not. I think it's great. I do, to this day, I do subcontracting work for people because they're my friends. They'll call me up and they'll say, I got this contract working. Is there any way you can get me an airplane? Sure, I'll get it. I still do it all the time. We do it with each other. It's networking. It's called building relationships. So don't look at subcontracting like it's a bad thing. Don't look at subcontracting like you're a lesser being. You are not. You're going to get about the same rates, damn near, right at it. You're going to get about the same rates. You're going to get about the same treatment. And you get paid on Friday instead of having to wait 30 to 60 days for your money that no factoring company is going to touch with a 10-foot pole. So think about it. Look it up. I'm not going to sit here and go through the whole list of people that use subcontractors, but everybody that's in the business does. They need help all the time. I mean, it's not It's not a new thing. There's a bunch of people out there. Bennett owns 5 different companies, and all of their companies are big, big, big into government freight, especially military. That's one of their big things, and they pay extremely well. They've got great hookups. They got all that stuff. I understand. The other one that does a lot of dry van stuff, and they do a lot of FEMA stuff, but they do a lot of contract stuff as well as doing the disaster stuff, is Estes. Estes is huge in that arena. Big, big, big. I had a warehouse contract with FEMA for a couple years up in Maryland to manage a couple of their warehouses. By far, Estes was my biggest carrier. They were in and out all the time, every day. And when they had that storm up there, I forget the name of it because there's been so many I've been involved in, but they had a big storm up there on the East Coast, a few years back. Estes did probably 70% of all that. So they're big. That's a big, big, big company. So you might talk to them. Estes didn't take any when they require hazmat to get on with them. I got is that list available for prime contractors? Dan, I don't know where. You'll find Estes is just like everybody else. If it's raining and you have an umbrella, they will let you come on in. Trust me. Trust me. If a big hurricane's going to hit and start tearing up shit, all these guys with these prime contracts, all these big movers, they're going to take all the help they can get from carriers and from brokers. We've been trying for months. They don't need you right now. They will. They will. Let's see. What else can I talk about a little bit? Difference between being prime and being a sub. Being a sub is a good place to be. It really is. It's good work. It pays very well. And you get paid on Friday. You don't have to wait for your money. And you don't have to jump through all those hoops. They already did that. What else can I talk to you about? Just it's so big, guys. It's such a big, 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 big customer. Okay? And they've got so much stuff going in so many directions. Get in there, guys, and take your time. Take your time and stay in your lane and do what you do and do it very well. Does the government get weird if you own a carrier and brokerage? No, they don't get weird. You just have to, you register them separately. They're not, you're not going to be a single entity to them. You're going to be a dual entity. Good night, Michelle. Thank you for coming. What else can I tell you? Questions? Let's do questions now. I've been here for an hour and a half. That's pretty good. Pretty good. You're going to see once you get registered with GSA, the whole world's going to open up to you. You're going to see the other sites that they're going to direct you to, to do other work, to do other things. That's going to be available to U.S. Transcom, SDDC, DOD, all that stuff is going to be coming. What's the government policy of carrying a firearm with a government contract? Same as it's whatever it is in whatever state. Every state's different. You're not going to carry a gun on a military base. I don't care who you are. 90 minutes. Does your throat hurt yet? Yeah. Well, I got this vitamin. I got it. That's better. I haven't covered nearly anything. It would take me a week to cover everything. But if anybody's got any questions, I like, I enjoy helping people. I'm not going to keep doing this. I don't have, a whole lot of time to do it. But once you get involved in it, what you're going to find is it's just overwhelming. There's so much of it. So try to stay focused and stay in your lane. Go with what you're good at. Make a few phone calls. If you're going to do military freight, call the logistics officer on that base. It'll be listed. Okay? You can find them online. Call it. And most of the logistics officers now, these days, are civilians. Used to be all military. Now, they've farmed all that out. And most of the people, so we absolutely have to use U.S. Bank. Was I not clear about that? Did I stutter somewhere during that thing? Don't try to get on a fucking military base with a firearm. What are you talking about? Why are you? If you try to get in a fucking gate with a firearm, they'll lock your ass up. Okay, we get it. You're a gun guy. Give me a fucking break. Can you haul for the post office with an incident on your record? Yes. Yes, you can. The other thing about doing the postal thing is what the government requires for the people that do it, and it's mostly brokers like at Christmas time, or if you do the year-round stuff, those brokers have to meet the same pay requirements that the government does. For instance, the guys that do that normally make about $31 an hour, $31.76, I believe it is, almost $32 an hour. And they can only work so many hours, they can only drive so many miles. Well, as a broker, you have to be in compliance with all that. You have to pay your drivers the same that the government drivers get paid. So and I mean that sounds like a tough thing. It's really not. It's really not that hard because once you've done it, once or twice, and you know what you're doing, you know how to bid it. You know how to put it in there so you can make a profit. It's not hard to do. All this stuff looks complicated to you because there's so many hoops to jump through, but trust me when I tell you, they're pretty easy. Once you get started, if you're a diligent person, kind of pragmatic, once you get started and start going through the process, it's really not that hard. And then once you get into it, if you're smart and you stay in your lane and you're patient, you can do very well at it. You can do very well. You can make good money with them. And they print money, okay? So they go year round. If freight's down, they're not. Okay? Well, you just keep going. It's the biggest logistics customer on this whole planet. One more thing I want to mention. Let's say you're hauling a dry van. Not you, Mara. Normal people. Let's say you're hauling a dry van. And you go to pick up a government load from a supplier. I'll tell you a story. I'll make this a story. Because you're a GSA guy and you're qualified with your GSA, and they send you to pick up a load from, let's say, your packaging company in, let's say, Arkansas. They say, we got 13 computer loads. They're little robots, and we want you to pick them up there and bring them to Washington, D.C. What do you charge me? And I go, how about $8 a mile plus fuel? Okay, fine. I did that. I did that move. My son, being the little go-getter that he can be, called the company shipping the computers, and he said, what the hell else you guys do? Well, number one, when he called them, they already knew that he was a GSA certified and qualified trucking company. They already knew that, right? So they were anxious to talk to him, as opposed to if, Marvin, your cousin, calls from Freddie's Trucking Company in Podunk, Iowa. So they were anxious to talk to him. And guess what? He picked up a new customer. Every customer that you go to, if they are a customer of the government, they can be your customer too. So it's just a wide open book of people that you can go after as your own, private commercial customers. And they already know, when you call them on the phone, they already know that you're qualified and certified to do the work. And you're pretty damn good at it, or you wouldn't be doing it for GSA. They already know that. So it's a pretty good sales tool. I mean, we've gotten a lot of business in that way. Does U.S. Postal Service or anything, they do trailer pools? No. No, they don't do. That's all one way. You have to go in and build the round trips yourself when you're doing the bids. You have to do them yourself. You have to look at the stuff coming out of this post office, going to that post office, and you have to build a round trip. It's a lot easier to do on the East Coast than it is out west, and the runs out west tend to be a lot longer. You have to build your own round trips. They won't do it for you. You have to do it. Again, it looks harder than it is. It's once you get in there and start poking around a little bit, you'll see them. They're there. The girl we used to have doing for us was a college student. She just was monkeying around. Night, Mara. See you, babe. Appreciate you. Thanks for your help. Talk to you some other time. Tomorrow, maybe. So it's so big and there's so much to do. Start out by getting qualified. Start out by getting set up. Okay? Do it through the GSA. It's just easier. Deb Dingo was here a while ago, and I think she had to leave. She got set up through Sam's, and she will tell you in a heartbeat. It's just 10 times harder, to get set up that way. And then when you do, that doesn't, qualify you for all the other agencies. So, do the GSA route. Do that way, and then you'll be good to go. The GSA is a big 5-story building. People are messaging me. Hold on. I have a question for you, by the way. Great show. Thank you. I've been infiltrated by TikTok truckers. Yeah, they won't last long. What's the question, Miranda? Ask me on the page. Ask me on the page. Hey, Laura, you're more than welcome. That's what I suggest. I suggest that you. I suggest that you start out with GSA. I suggest that you stay away from FEMA. Stay away. You're not ready for it. Yeah, I'm gonna go in there and give me a GSA and give me a FEMA free. No, you're not. No, you will not. They won't talk to you. And if they do, that's the worst day of your life. Until you know what you're doing. I mean, it's like anything else, right? But there's so many other things. The U.S. Forestry Service. I love those guys. Those guys are fucking great. Dan, you're welcome. Somebody keeps messaging me. I don't know who it is. I'm already signed up with FEMA and approved. Do I need a GSA to get all the other providers? Yes, you do. You absolutely do. I don't know how you got set up with FEMA without going through GSA. Do you know? Let's see what else. That's about it. That's about it, guys. I've done a lot of different things with different carriers, over the years to try to help them out and get them set up and get them going on government freight and all that stuff. I've done a lot of that over the years, but really and truly, guys, you don't need me or anybody like me. You don't need some old dude to do this for you. All you really need to do is get in there and get started. There's phone numbers on there to call if you need help, if you get stuck somewhere or do something, because that happens. Anybody can make a mistake. Okay, there's people to call. There's stuff to do. Let them walk you through it. My best advice to you is once you get set up and once you get in there, stay in your lane. I can't tell you any better than that. Stay in your lane. There's plenty there. There's plenty there to do. Anybody got any other questions? I could sit here and tell you about rates, but damn, it'd take me all day. And I could sit here and tell you about all the different agencies and what they do and how they do it, that kind of thing. But really and truly, I've told you pretty much all you need to know to get started, to get headed in that direction. And some of you that are already set up, if you're looking for, more business out of it, if you're hoping to get more out of it, don't be afraid to call on the phone. And tell those people to put you on their mailing list, and tell those people that, hey, let me try some of this. Let me do a couple loads and see how it goes. They'll do it. They'll do, not all of them. I mean, you got to prick anywhere in the world. Most of those people, it's not their money. You know what I'm saying? Most of them will say, yeah, okay, we'll give it a shot. Get your, stick your feet in the water and get in there and start doing business, start doing some of the work. You have to market it. You have to go after it just like you do any other customers. They do go by rates, I'm going to tell you. And I'll tell you something else that make you sick. The mean average rate from Louisville, Kentucky to Miami, Florida for FEMA in a hurricane is $3.48 a mile. And you're going, no, it ain't neither, because my friend Bob done that, and he got $8.93 a fucking mile. No, he didn't. No, he did not. $3.50. Now, if a broker like me called you on the phone and said, hey, I got 10 loads from Louisville, Kentucky to Miami, Florida, and you go, how much that? And I say, $5 a mile, knowing that it's $3.48, knowing that, and I tell you it's $5 a mile, and you go, yeah, give me all 10 of them, and you do them, then I got to pay you $5 a mile, don't I? Except that I know something you don't know. I know it's going to change, and I know when it does, the rate's going to go through the roof. Because that's how it works. I know that there's going to be accessorial charges. When I told you a while ago at the beginning of the show, when I told you that, what about your guys get there and they tell them to drop their trailers over there, and they'll call you later? Here's what I didn't tell you. If you drop your trailers over there, it's $1,300 a day. A broker won't tell you that because he wants to collect it and not give it to you. He wants to keep it. Okay? It's $1,300 a day. And they will pay your mileage from where you drop that trailer to your nearest domicile. They're not going to pay you to go from Miami to California. Nobody's that stupid. They won't do that. But they will pay you to go from Miami to Atlanta or Miami to Charlotte. They do it all the time. And they will pay you $3.50 a mile to go up there, and they will pay you $3.50 a mile to come back and get your trailer when it's empty, plus detention on the trailer. They will do that. But if you don't know that, and you grab a bunch of $3.50 loads and tell people you'll pay them $5, because I'm here to tell you, you won't move them for $3.50. That won't happen. You can get your ass in a crack in a big, 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 big hurry. You see what I'm saying? You're not, you guys, if you're new at this, you haven't been doing it for a while, you don't want to get into that game until you know what you're doing. They can eat your lunch. And you can't go back to them and say, yeah, well, this fat guy on the internet the other night, he told me I could charge you $6. Now I owe all these people money. You can send me some money. They ain't sending you shit. The cavalry is not coming over the hill. It's just you. There's nobody there but you. There's nobody there but you. When you price these stuff for these guys, be sure to price it so that you can make a profit. Be sure to price it so you can make 20 to 24%, okay? Be sure to price it. Be sure to include everything that you should include. Don't leave anything out. Be patient, stay in your lane, know your game, and do your stuff. It's the same if you haul, it's the same if you haul a load for the Forestry Service. Those guys are great. I love hauling for them. I mean, if I could just sit here all day, every day, and haul equipment to these fires out west, that's all I'd ever do. That's great. That's good stuff. You get paid a lot of money, and you get paid fast. And when you get out there, they are happy to see your ass. They want that shit. Okay? That's how you get started, guys. That's where it all starts. You can haul everything from toilet paper to machine guns and everything in between. They move everything in the world, food, you name it. You know, if you see it, they move it. Equipment, cars, trucks, tanks. If you've ever seen it on the road, they move it. It's the biggest logistics company in the world. Go to GSA, type in gsa.gov, go in the upper right hand corner, type in TSP, hit enter, and you'll have pages of stuff that tells you what to do and how to get in there. One more thing to all you guys that stuck around to the last minute. If you tell her where you got this, I'll tell her you're a liar. The lady at GSA that manages all of the applications. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this one time. Her name is Velvet Blue. That's her name. Velvet. She's the nicest lady you'll ever talk to. Very helpful. Sweet as she can be. She's been there for years and years and years. That's her name. That's it, guys. Happy Tuesday night. I hope everybody's having a great night. I hope you have a good time. I hope this helped you a little bit. I do. I hope it helped you a little bit. I think, I've tried to put as much out there as I can in, damn near 2 hours. I've tried to put it out there. Send me a message. Y'all are a member of the group now. If you want to put a message in there, questions in there, feel free to do it. Join my YouTube page. It's real small. I don't have many people over there, but join that Frank G Trucks because I post up there all the time. And good luck. Good luck with all this. Help each other. Take good care of each other. We're all we got. The government's not going to help us. No, they're not there to help us. They're there to help them. They're not going to help you. More regulations aren't going to help you. But those guys that work at those agencies up there are people just like you and me. They're not politicians. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to debate it. None of that bullshit. They want you to pick up their fucking load over here and take it over here and deliver it and send them a bill. Just like everybody else. All right? Everybody have a great night. I appreciate you coming to my little talk. I'll do something next week. I don't know what it'll be, but it won't be government. It'll be something else. And I want to have Shane Ferris on here one night to talk about how to attract and retain drivers because he's really fucking good at it. And guys, have a great night. I wish all of you well, and good luck with this government stuff. It's a very, 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 very profitable company to work for. All right? See you guys.